Hey everybody, this is Bear for the Bear Truth, or as I'm thinking of renaming this, to the Apocalypse Jones Show. Not that I think it's the apocalypse, but hey, just like to be prepped. So, a brave new world, interesting times, a perfect storm of a pandemic, predicted, modelled, even said to be a flu-like pandemic when it did happen. And here it is. And I'm not going to cast blame. I'm not going to start, and to be fair, any of the conspiracy theories, any of these ideas, I'm not even going to bother. I don't think we should be looking at distractions right now. We have a disease. It is killing people. That is an inescapable fact. And that is what we need to focus on right now, is actually how we deal with that, both individually, locally, and globally. We are facing a novel virus that has mutated to get from an animal species within to the human species. It's a slippery virus. We know it can mutate. It's not the flu. Comparing it to the flu is actually, it just doesn't work, really. It's nonsensical, because the flu is something that we have an immunity to. It's something that's within the human species and the human organism already, but this is not. It's a key that's suddenly been able to fit into a lock that it never was able to fit in, or it shouldn't have been able to fit into. And now that's in there, it's mutating and changing with the shape of the lock. And we have no idea where it will end. We know so little about the disease. We don't know if catching it actually confers an immunity. We don't know how the different strains interact. We still don't really know where it came from. But what we do know is we do not have an immunity, and we certainly do not have a vaccine. So we're entering the initial stages of lockdown. This isn't a full lockdown yet. This is just essentially enforced social isolation, and they've closed down at places where the public could meet up. And the reason I want to do this video is, I'm not an epidemiologist, I'm not a virologist, so I don't want to really go into the science and mechanics behind the disease. But I have, as many of you know, always had a pop commentary going on about the social strata, how our society works, politics, all that jazz. And that's what worries me. Now, the disease does obviously worry me. I'm not disassembling from that. It's something we need to be very aware of, which is why, as soon as I became ill 3 weeks ago, I self-isolated, even though that wasn't the advice at the time, because I just didn't want to run the risk of conferring and transferring this disease. If I have had it, I still haven't had a test, so I genuinely don't know. But what worries me more than the disease, because I have faith in the WHO, I have faith in the NHS, I have faith in the world's medical professional. There are institutions and agencies, generally multinational and internationals, that are working to try and combat this, and I salute them all. Everybody within the medical profession, everybody within any critical care, anybody working to try and keep the society running. I salute you. I genuinely do. But it's the emergency legislation that is trying to be put through at the moment for 2 years by our own government. I'm not going to comment on other countries. It's that is to them. All I can really comment on is here. Now, I do actually believe that emergency legislation should be put through. I really do. But 2 years of unfettered powers to this government, no, I do not think that should happen. Yes, they should have powers, but they should be reviewed. They should be for a much more limited time period with the potential for extension. And the reason I feel this is, if you look throughout history, you will find time and time again an emergency situation precipitated the sudden and quick institution of emergency legislation or laws that allowed for a group or an individual to assume a powerful role to deal with the emergency. And then, when the emergency had ended, that power was not given back. And that is what I worry about. We had already seen in these preceding years a rise of nationalism and right-wing ideology. And I worry that those governments that already lean towards that, once given this power, will be reluctant or just will refuse to give it back. So the overwhelming support that the British people have started to show for each other, the breakdown of class divides, the social media groups, the just the beautiful nature inherent within the human condition has sprung forward, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And in fact, it doesn't surprise me that currently on a local level, people are doing more than their own government is. But I think that we need to look beyond just this disease now. We need to look at what comes after, because no matter what happens, our world is going to change. And we need to be aware of what comes after. So I suggest now we start these discussions to realise that the society we live in, capitalist society, has shown its cracks and fractures and is now starting to fray at its very core. That socialist ideals have been put forward as ways to deal with this crisis, to support, and that fair and open representation needs to be fought for more now than it ever has. So just a little bit of food for thought. Keep an eye on the news. Think about what you can do locally to help others, but also think about the conversations. Realise that social media and the digital revolution allows us to have direct consensus, the ability to have these conversations. And we need to be careful, and we need to be watchful and mindful of our democracy and our liberties and our freedoms going forward. We have to fight the virus, and we will have to forgive, or forsake rather, some of our freedoms going forward. But when it comes to those freedoms coming back, we should not just fight for those, but for more. Because who is saving this society now? Not the billionaires and not the corporations, but those people who are on the front lines, who are underpaid, overworked and overstressed, and that was before this crisis came forward. Show strength, all you lovely people out there. Help where you can. Do the right thing. Isolate from others. Even if you don't show symptoms, just don't transmit. We can beat this. But while we're enforced and self-isolated, start to have those hard conversations, because it truly is a brave new world. And once this ends, we can make it a better one. So, until next time, this is the Bare Truth on the Apocalypse Shown segment of the Bare Truth Show now. And I'll see you all on the flip side.